Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Multifamily Real Estate Investors, where we delve deep into the lives of our successful guests to learn the secrets of thriving to flourish abundantly in all areas of life. Today's guest co-founded his current real estate investing company in 2015, and since that time has grown his portfolio to over 3,500 units in states throughout the Midwest and Southeast. Throughout his extensive real estate career, he has been involved in over $450 million in various real estate transactions spanning tax liens, rental sales transactions in Manhattan, vacant land, single-family flips, and of course, multifamily value add. I'm very pleased to have back with me today, John Cohen. Hello, John.
Hey, Alan, how are you? How was your weekend?
How was my weekend? It was uneventful, which I guess in some respects that is good. How about your weekend?
No complaints. I think not unsimilar. I think obviously where we're at in today's world, they all merged together, but it was nice. I actually was able to put the computer down for a weekend, and I didn't do much. So I appreciate you having me back on here, and I'm excited to get going.
Well, very good. Before going on here, I was taking a look at your website and was looking at your very impressive portfolio. I'm going to share my screen for our viewers. You can see John has properties in Florida, Ohio, and South Carolina, and North Carolina, and I think some in Tennessee, or at least you did have some in Tennessee and in Kentucky. So very impressive, John. What's your most enjoyable property, and why would you consider that to be the most enjoyable property?
Yeah, so that's it. That's an easy one. Probably one of my favorite properties is a property that we own in North Carolina in Wilmington. We bought that coming out of an extremely successful fractured condo that we turned back into a multifamily. So we used the 1031 exchange, and we bought a property in Wilmington that has just been easy, right? When we bought it, we knew we were buying a great deal. And then we had a hurricane, so we had to overcome the challenges there. And we had a relatively large, substantial loss and battling through those processes, but we were able to get the insurance proceeds, fix a lot of the stuff that we were fixing anyway. And we just had to, I want to say redo it, but we had to redo it. And we were able to put long-term debt on it. We have 10-year long-term agency debt. The deal cash flows about 13-14% a year with little to no headaches, knock on wood. So far, it's just been really easy. When a unit becomes available, we do a simple renovation. We raise rents about $200, and almost without a blink of an eye, it gets rented. Where we sit in the market strategically it's a really solid B asset. We have a really good delta between the Class A rents and what our rents are. So the property is just poised to perform really well because you capture a really good tenant that's looking for a discount, let's call it, to the Class A stuff. And we still have a gym, a pool. We have some good amenities. So the tenants get a really solid property. Minus the little hurricane blip, we have not been under 97% occupied for about 2.5 years now. So it's been a really easy project. It's been a really fun project, and it's just, it's done what it's supposed to do, and it's a legacy deal that I don't think we're ever going to sell. By far, that's the best one.
Great, good. So did you go into this with the idea of holding?
When we bought it, we knew that it was going to be probably a longer term deal. I don't think we envisioned it to be a 10-year hold and maybe even longer. It was probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhoods of 5 to 7. But the plan always was to buy. The rents were really low, so we were going to go in and we knew we'd be pushing rents, but we weren't going to disrupt the operations. We were going to let the part. We kept the manager, we kept the maintenance guy. Both of them have been there for 10 plus years. So we didn't really change much. We put new signage out front to show that there was a new sheriff in town, and really operationally, it was just a long-term owner. It basically didn't owe him anything anymore. And the vision was to buy it, renovate it, refi it, and then hold. We have that strategy on multiple deals. Sometimes when we get to the refi or the refi stage, we sell because the opportunity's there. So this one always had that potential, but in the back of our minds, we always had the opportunity and the business plan out there that this was going to be a longer term hold.
Yeah. Before we go on to other properties, how did you find this property?
So the property was brought to us by a broker. It was not listed. It was as off market could get, but it was not officially listed. I'm sure other people had saw it or had seen it. I'm sure brokers sent it out, but timing was right for us. They missed out on our sale, and we actually sold it with another broker, partially because our two partners on the deal picked another broker, and then that parlayed into them really wanting to go to bat for us. So they brought us a really good deal. So it wasn't officially listed, but it was brought to us by a broker off market.
Yeah, cool. You said this was easy all the way through. Talk to us about the underwriting process and how you went about that, and what did you discover through that underwriting and due diligence processes?
Yeah, so when we walked the property for due diligence, super clean. There was basically nothing you could point to say this is a problem. And when we first looked at my pricing it was fair. The market, it was worth every bit of what we paid. We always like to get a discount. There was no major discount. The biggest challenge with the deal was that the guy was running it paper and pencil. So the due diligence was actually delivered in a box that the broker literally had to scan in every single piece of paper. And he had mentioned to us that it took like over 2 weeks to get everything scanned in. There was good records. The guy was the original developer of the property. So there was phenomenal records of the property. Just, it was all paper. So it was extremely difficult for a lot of groups to probably get through all that stuff. So we came down, we did the full due diligence and just fell in love with it because where it sat in the submarket, how well maintained it was and how clean it was not a normal property we buy, but the opportunity was just in the long-term ownership and that they were not maximizing the operations. There was no gym there. The pool was modest. There was, a couple of chairs. It was not a major, it was a very B-class property with no amenities. So we came in and we just saw it. The writing was on the wall. There was no signage. There was no branding. It was just a property sitting there. So we came in, we put a sign up. We came in, we added the amenities, and we knew that stuff does not cost a lot of money, but would make us compete with a Class A property, but we still had $300 between the rents or $400 between the rents. So we knew that by just coming in and doing that. And then it was the regular interior stuff. We're not spending $15,000 because the property was in really good condition. So we're going in and doing very minor stuff. And we knew we'd be able to bridge that $400 gap to about $200. So the $1 million question was, do you go in with a bridge loan and you go a little bit more aggressive where you force vacancy, renovate quicker, get it stable quicker, and then refi? We didn't. And maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. We ended up, the hurricane helped us and it expedited our renovations, but we've just outperformed on as much of there was a rent push through due diligence and touring the comps and understanding that our rents were low. There was a lot of room on the management side to add a water bill back or submeter the property. Little things like that just were not being done. There was no pet charges. There was no amenities. There was nothing. It was just a plain vanilla deal. So we knew coming in there that this was not going to take a lot of capital. It was just going to take more management. And even with that management we put in, we didn't realize that we'd be getting this much of a pop. So it's been just through the whole process. Every single document we looked at, every single thing we scanned, and every unit we walked and everything we did, it was like, wow, look at this opportunity. Look at this opportunity. It made the opportunities that much more noticeable that it wasn't going to be going in there, putting granite and stainless steel and getting a rent pop. It wasn't that type of deal.
So what was your average per unit renovation cost?
So we're spending probably give or take between 5 and 7, just depending on if the tenant's been there. There's some tenants there that have been there for 10 plus years, 15 plus years. Those units need a little bit more, but for the most part, it's right in that, let's call it $6,000 range, which is basically your amenity upgrades, your lighting package, your flooring, your cabinets, your appliances, but nothing over the top.
Wow. Was that an all bills paid complex when you purchased it?
Yep. When we did, there was the landlord was paying for everything. We implemented some bill back for trash and for water, submetered the whole property and really cut back expenses significantly.
Did you do sub-metering or are you just doing bill back?
No, we had the submeter because it's in North Carolina, so you got a submeter to have your tenants paid to pay the water. You can't just do a RUBS program like some other states.
So did you have to put the meters in there? Is that $5,000 to $7,000? Does that include that?
That costs, that's a couple $100, maybe $300 to $400.
Wow, impressive deal. Enlightened investors, are you passionate about the work of your calling but have little time to develop a passive investment portfolio to secure your future? Even though you're blessed to work in your calling, would you like to have the financial freedom to live more abundantly in all areas of life? If this is you, visit us at steedtalker.com. You can schedule a 30-minute call to talk about anything or send me an email at alan@steedtalker.com. I look forward to meeting and connecting with you. Talk to us about your worst nightmare in terms of your complexes. Which one is the biggest headache?
Our student housing deal, partially it's in a tertiary market. It's outside of Nashville. It's in a small market. But when I say nightmare, I mean the deal, it's in an opportunity zone. The deal is in a tax incentive financing zone. So there is a TIF component to the deal, which is basically a government paid through taxes program. We bought it, ground up development, which year one was phenomenal. We absolutely blew past expectations. Year two came, the management company just dropped the ball badly. We brought in another company who also, I don't want to say they were dealt a pretty shitty card because they came in after the school year started, but they really didn't. They took it from a student deal, turned it into just anyone can live there, short-term leases, long-term leases. So it was a little bit of a nightmare. And then we brought in another company who has since fixed a lot of issues, but at the same time, Corona hit. And the school's enrollment it was the fastest growing college in Tennessee for years. Fast forward, the school made a clerical error where they didn't send out the right marketing package. Then this year, Corona happened, so enrollment was down. So it was just everything all signs that pointed to this is going to be a phenomenal deal. So many things were just we couldn't control. The school's mistakes, the Corona, obviously, which has impacted a lot of stuff, and leasing has slowed. And it's just been, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back the entire time. Now we do own the piece of land adjacent to the property as a phase 2 development. So, we got it for a great price, and the deal will turn out to be fine. It'll be good. It won't be that year and a half construction deal flip, and now it's going to be more of a longer term deal. But it just seems we zig and something zags, and we just can't, no matter what we try. Major Instagram advertising, major push to students, and it just seemed we had the athletic department took 60 leases. None of the tenants paid their rent. And then the football coach was fired. The assistant was fired. So we didn't even have someone to go. Yes, we can go after the tenants and their parents, but there was no accountability. The coach left. So the school was like, well, you made the deal with the coach. What do you want us to do? So it was just everything we did that we thought would benefit us. It just ended up hurting. And now, like I said, the deal's doing fine, and we're occupied for this year, not where we want to be, but it's just been one thing after another. We had a contractor that was stealing some money he got himself into some trouble on a couple deals. So he was misappropriation of funds. So it was just, you name it, everything possibly went wrong, but it's been the biggest struggle. Now, I do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel that our new management company's in there, and we seem to be making progress, but I don't want to jinx myself too quickly yet.
Yeah. So did the new management company turn it back into purely student housing?
Yeah, they went student. Now with Corona, we are experimenting some with some short-term Airbnb stuff because it's not too far from Nashville. So we are testing some stuff, and that was 100% Corona and COVID-19 related, not market-driven. It is a student deal. We're just testing some stuff for the interim until this COVID stuff shakes itself out.
Yeah, I've talked to other student housing places who do keep a couple of units essentially for parents and treat it as an Airbnb. It'll be interesting how that experiment turns out. So this was new construction. So you took it from the ground up. Was this your first experience in ground up development?
Yeah, for on a major multifamily, yes. Now my partner has done it before. He's built condos, he's built single family houses. He's done it a lot more than I have. I've gut renovated houses and single family stuff, but not on the multifamily level. So it was my first dive into that. Now we've done 100% vacant properties, which is almost new construction to a degree. So we were familiar with it, but this is the first time we went through that entire process.
What is the difference in terms of raising capital for a startup as opposed to an existing complex?
Yeah, so I would say I don't want to say it was the biggest challenge because the developments come with their own risk and the other deals have their risks. This deal, the risk here, you have a return associated with the risk. You don't get 20 and 30 and 40% and You don't get those returns without risk. That deal in North Carolina did not pencil out to a 30 IRR. It's just that it was a super stable deal that was long-term. That's going to pencil out different than a ground-up construction. But with the ground-up construction comes up all the ground-up risk. You start a project today for something in the future, and none of us can predict what's going to happen in the future, and none of us could have predicted the series of events that happened there. It's just a level of risk that any investor just has to understand, and that's the hurdle, right? You can't bring a deal like that to an investor that wants cash flow day one. It's just not. That's a recipe for disaster. So as long as you identify all of those issues, and for every objection, you have the answer to it, and you portray that and everyone understands that, there was really not much. This deal, we actually raised money faster on this deal than any property prior. So it just, people saw the risk and were attracted with the return. So they did it now. But those are the risks that are associated with it. So I would say the biggest challenge is just identifying all the risks and the pitfalls and just being sure that you're prepared for them and you can overcome them and everyone understands them. And then there really shouldn't be much of an issue.
I was reading on your website, you've developed a strategy based upon population, employment, and other factors. Give us a bit of detail about your acquisition strategy. And it's a strategy you've used consistently since 2015.
No, so that is the backbone of this business. You have to set a strategy and you got to deliver that. So if you're looking for one thing and it doesn't check off those boxes, we advise and we do ourselves, we pass. We're not looking at Class A new construction deals in major top 5 MSAs. So if we see those deals, we may save it because at one point in the future, we may look at that stuff, but we don't call that broker and find out. But we built our business based on job growth, population growth, and supply and demand. That is the lifeblood of this business. So where there are jobs being created, people are moving. People need a place to live. So you just got to fill that need. Now, we're not doing new construction. Now, we did on the student deal, was a different story. But for the most part, that market had job growth, had population growth, and this just happened to be a student deal. But for the most part, like I said before, that's what we do. And we're in the C and B class space. So, that supply and demand is important. What existing product is there? What existing product is being built, and then how does the delta between Class A, Class B, and C, what's that spread look like? So if there's a lot of overbuilding, then you have to assume that your concessions and your vacancy, things are going to change, and it all trickle-down effect. So we evaluate that pretty rigorously, and then we've adapted our strategy to major metros. So we're not buying in tertiary markets anymore, and this was done prior to Corona. This was done when maybe 2018, when we said, hey, maybe the market's a little frothy, so let's buy in better economic fundamental areas where there's still some more runway. No more tertiary areas, no more. It's got to have good fundamentals. It's got to see, okay, there's really good job growth, even above national average, even with the market coming to where we all believed it would be the top of the market, we still factor that in. And that is the first thing we do in any market. If we get a deal in a market that we are not 100% familiar with, is go right down that list. What's the job growth? What's the population growth? What's the inventory look like? And then that can at least give us the high level to say, hey, this is a place where we want to be or not. Now, with that being said, we are looking to scale to 10, 20, 30,000 units over the next 5 years. So Columbus and Jacksonville checked off all those boxes, and we are looking to acquire 5,000 units in each of those areas so we can set up our shop and then expand off of that. So you can build to within a 2, 3, 4 hour radius of there. So you can have your internal management and you can really keep a closer eye on stuff as opposed to prior where it's been very, okay, this is an opportunistic deal. It checks off all our boxes, but it's a one-off deal in Jackson, Mississippi, which maybe doesn't check off every box, but we're buying it well below its value. We're buying a 50% occupied property that's got clear upside. We have been able to do opportunistic deals, but we've now gone back to our bread and butter, which is that acquisition criteria to a T. And that's something that we are tweaking on a quarterly, annual basis, just saying, hey, let's take this market off the list because it failed this test, or let's add this market because it's showing really promising signs. So we are tweaking that at least once a year and probably close to quarterly at our quarterly meeting internally, just really picking and choosing where we want to be and making sure that criteria remains constant.
Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting strategy and it sounds solid. It certainly has carried you well through 2015. And it's impressive that your strategy has even carried you through that huge nightmare. I suspect in raising future capital and experience is going to go a long ways and actually will be much more fundamental in raising capital than your Wilmington property.
Without a doubt.
Where everything has gone so smooth and so well there.
No, 100%.
Well, yeah. Before we tie things up here, tell our viewers and listeners how it is that they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so the best way to contact me, if you go to our website, which is Toro, T-O-R-E-P, Real Estate Partners, tororep.com. There's an investor questionnaire there. That's the best way to at least fill it out. Whether you're an investor or not, it'll come through, and then we get notified, and we typically try and set up a call with everybody. Or you could reach out to me directly at my email address, which is John, John, @tororep.com. Those are the two best places. Social media, if you find me on social media, reach out to me. I am not checking that stuff as frequently as I probably should in 2020. But my Instagram handle is @John_JC. I try and get more active on there. And then on Facebook and any of that stuff, you can just type my name in and you should be able to pull you up. But email and website are the best.
John, once again, it has indeed been a pleasure. It's been very informative. Thank you for sharing those experiences with us. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, Alan. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.